Do you guys like to throw the little Keitech football jigs? What if I told you we could make our own? Stick around, I'll show you how. Welcome back to the channel, guys. So today I'm going to show you something that I told myself I was not going to show on this channel when I started, and the more I thought about it, I was like, why not? It defeats the purpose of what I'm doing here, and that is to try to help you guys out. So this jig has been probably about a year, maybe a little longer in the making. Me and a buddy of mine, we've been testing this thing. We've been playing around with hook sizes, hook options, different hook diameters as far as the thickness of the hook. And I feel like we have the perfect combination for this little finesse football jig. Now the components are very, very specific for the one that I'm going to be making. The mold itself is a very specific mold. I'll cover all of these details for you guys, and I'll show you exactly what we're using. So let's get to it. So the mold that I have discovered to be the best for this application is the Weedless Football FBW-4-AF. When I open this, you'll see that I have some 3M tape in the mold. Now, if I pull this up close, look at where the Weedguard goes into the jig head. It is very, very small, and as you can see on the mold, it says to use the FG12 Weedguard. I will show you the difference in standard size and the FG12. It is a very, very small Weedguard, which is almost an exact match for the Keitech version. Now, the design of this mold, because the opening is so small, is to actually lay the Weedguard in and pour the lead around it. Now, you can do that, but I like to be able to powder coat things and not have to worry about masking off the Weedguard and just fiddling with everything. So what I did was, if you look up the Weedguards, they are 5/64 in diameter. So I got on Amazon and found these 5/64 brass pins. They come in a bag of 20. Again, I'll leave it linked down below. But what you can do is lay this little brass pin into where the Weedguard would be, and this 3M tape, the 3M tape, it keeps the pin in place. Because if you just lay the pin in there and close the mold, when you tilt the mold up, the pin falls out. So having the 3M tape on both sides, as you can see, it forms to the center of that cavity. It holds the pin in place and then allows you to do the exact same process that you would do with a normal base hole pin with this tiny version. Now, we've got our lead all melted. Let's pour a couple of these and I'll show you the hooks that we're going to be using. So I believe the Owner 5316 in a 2/0 size is the perfect hook for these little jigs. It is the 2X hook, which means it's a little bit larger in diameter. The standard size is the 5313. If you don't want quite as heavy of a hook, just go to the 5313 and you'll be good. Now, the one thing I want to show you, when I lay that in this is the 3/8 ounce size. So you can see how close to the front of that cavity that hook is laying. So that can cause issues with your hook filling or your lead filling in. That's another reason why, if you have this wire or your Weedguard in the mold and you pour it and you get a bad pour, now you got to deal with either throwing that one away and wasting a hook or Weedguard, or trying to get all that lead off without putting the Weedguard in your lead pot. With these little brass pins, if you have this in there and it pours bad, you just pull your pin out, dip your lead back into your lead pot, and you're good to go. Start over. But as long as you have your mold preheated and your lead is really nice and hot, you don't really have too many issues with those filling in. But yeah, again, the Owner 5316 in a 2/0 size. We're going to make some of these 3/8 ounce sizes just to match the Keitech jig that I have on hand. So you can see, I just laid that little brass pin in place just like I would my normal base hole pin. We'll pour the lead and then we'll check them out. So let's check this little guy out. So you can see there, we had our mold nice and hot. Everything was preheated. Those pieces of 3M tape keep that base hole pin straight in line with the jig and the hook, keeping everything nice and straight. And you can see here, even though the shank of that hook was really close to the top side, it still filled in completely and you don't have any voids. you're good to go. We'll clip our sprues off, clean that little tab up, and then we'll get to powder coating. So we got 4 of these all cleaned up and ready to go because we have 4 of Barlows Nova Stone powder paints to try out. We've got Bluegrass, Tequila Sunset, Lava Crawl, and Mossy Crawl. These are all color shifting powder paints, which look super cool. So we're gonna get these powder coated up, check out these new colors, and then we'll move on to tying some skirts. We got all those powder coated in the oven, and the nice thing about these is it tells you right on the cup to bake it at 350 for 15 to 20 minutes. So that's what we're going to do, and then we'll get them out when they're cured. While we're waiting on those to bake, I wanted to touch on the skirt material that we're going to be using. So this is fine cut skirt material, and I'll show you what it looks like. This is your standard cut, and if you put them side by side, you can see how much thicker the standard cut is to the fine. Up here on the ends where the tabs are, you can really see the difference. So they're the exact same amount of strands, but you can see how much bigger the standard cut is compared to the fine cut. Now, the Keitech versions, you can see they have the fine cut. I have one of the first versions I made with the standard cut strand or the silicone, and you can see how much thicker it is. What that does is the fine cut will lay down a little bit better and keep that kind of smaller profile. The standard cut's going to kind of flare out a little bit more. Both of them work just fine. You can get away with whatever you want. Here's one of the other ones we made with the fine cut, and you can see how it matches the skirt material Keitech uses. Again, this is only offered in a limited amount of colors. They also have fine cut living rubber. I found an old one that I had made in kind of a peanut butter and jelly pattern. This is the fine cut silicone and fine cut living rubber, and it keeps that, like I said, kind of condensed profile with rubber and silicone. So really good options. I just wanted to touch on what is available in fine cut. It's not a lot, especially when you compare it to the standard, but it is enough to kind of give whatever option you might need. Let's check out these Nova Stone powder paints. So these things, the color shift that they put off in person is phenomenal. The camera just doesn't quite do it justice how much color shift is in these powder paints, but I am super excited about these. That first one was the Bluegrass. This one is the Tequila Sunset. We've got Lava Crawl, which so far, out of the 4 that I have, is my favorite. I think that's going to be killer out on the Delta. And then the last one is this Mossy Crawl. I really wish there was a way to capture this. Once I get them all tied, we'll go out into the sun like we did on the last video and see if that helps. Because the color shift effect in person that these put off is just outstanding. Really, really excited to keep using these powders. So we're going to get some of these skirts tied up, and then we will compare to the Keitechs. We got these 4 tied up, and the last thing to do is put our weed guards in. We're going to take our super glue gel, and since we use those little pins as a base hole pin, we do this the exact same way we do our normal jigs. We're going to put our super glue on the end of our weed guard. Pull that down. You can see the hole from where we had those pins. Push our weed guards in, and there you go. And you can see these are what I feel like pretty much already at the perfect length. You could trim them down a little if you want, but I prefer to just leave them as is. We'll get our weed guards all glued into the 4 of these, and then we're going to take them out to the sunlight and check them out. Here is the Bluegrass color in that Nova Stone. You can really see when that sun hits it, that nice color shifting effect. We've got our Tequila Sunset. Here is the Lava Crawl. And then we have our mossy craw. Super cool little color shift powders. I'll try to get a better close-up of all these in the light box at the end. And here we have the finished products. Really happy with the way these Nova Stone powder paints came out. And then one other thing I did want to show you guys. So this is the Keitech jig. It is a 3/8 ounce head. We also made a 3/8 ounce head. And you can see they are almost identical size-wise. So even though ours are lead and not tungsten, you're not sacrificing profile. You're still able to keep that same compact profile. But yeah, super cool. Like I said, I have tested different variations of this jig for over a year now, and I feel like this is the perfect combination. You can see, even though it's a small 2/0 hook, it's still a nice, beefy, solid hook. That is one of my complaints with the Keitech jig, is the Weedguard is, I feel like, a little too thin and not really very weedless, and these hooks bend out really easy. Now you can just bend them back and keep using, and these are great jigs. I'm not saying they're not. The amount of money won on these little Keitech jigs out west in some of these fishing tournaments is pretty incredible. So don't take this the wrong way. I'm not knocking these, but I just like having the ability to make my own in whatever sizes and color patterns that I want. This mold makes anywhere from 1/4 ounce all the way up to 3/4. I have made all the different sizes and they all work very well. But yeah, super cool little mold. Let me know what you guys think. And there you have it, guys. That is how we make our own little version of this little Keitech football jig. It's a fantastic little option. If you don't have a lot of confidence in fishing jigs, definitely give this one a shot. These little compact profiles just get bit. Really cool mold. Like I said, this took us probably over a year of a lot of trial and error and testing to get to what I feel like is the perfect combination. Let me know what you guys think. If you think that this is a good option, like I said, I will link all products down in the description below. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and we'll see you on the next one.